Here's the big question.
How are agents like us,
who didn't get an opportunity to invest in a franchise early,
who are spending time and money to sell homes,
building someone else's saleable asset?
How do we grow a business but still build wealth?
Have an exit strategy,
and get a piece of the pie that's not dependent
on us working more hours in every weekend?
That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer.
My name is Jay Kinder.
My name is Al Stasek.
And I'm Michael Reese. We are your hosts, and welcome to the One Big Fire Podcast.
All right.
One big fire. How's it going today? We're here with Bryan and Timothy Souza, my good pal and co-host Al Stasek, who looks like he might be traveling. How you doing, brother?
Always.
Oh, now we can't hear Al. Oh. There you go. We had delayed audio. I saw your lips moving, but I couldn't hear the words. But you're there. You're good, man. So, hey, we got some exciting thing. A little bit delayed. We got some great news to share with what's going on at eXp. And man, you know, the headline for this video was, "Is eXp really paying for your daughter's college?" That's so why don't we start with that, because that's a pretty nice little perk there. I'd like to know how that works.
You know, the biggest reason why we moved to eXp was the stock awards. And the stock awards, because I didn't get stock awards when we were at Remax. Right. We paid a lot of fees at Remax for many, many years, almost a decade, right? And never got awarded any stock. And in the first year, year one, we thought, is this real? Stock awards plopped into the account. We thought, well, this is all right. Year two, stock awards popped into the account. This is getting better. So I'm thinking in 5 years of this, my daughter will be in college, and the stock that was awarded to me will be paying for her college.
Right. That doesn't suck, right?
It's absolutely amazing.
Right. It is amazing. It is amazing. It's one of the amazing things. Just one of the amazing things about this company is the fact that you get awarded stock just for selling real estate, doing the things that you're out there doing anyways. Yeah. And it becomes, and again, this is part of the reason that we're back on here is when you guys joined, there was three agents in your entire market at eXp. Now there's over 200 agents at eXp.
Over 200, yeah. In the last 2 years, it just exploded locally. I mean, when you describe all of the growth nationally and in all states, and people kind of nod their head and they say, yeah, I get it, I understand. And then you say, well, we've gone to 10,000, we've gone to 15,000, we've gone to 20,000 agents, we hit 25,000 agents, we're above 25,000 agents now. They're okay, but when it happens to the local market, all of a sudden the blinders come off and they go, this is real.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We see it. It's fun. It's interesting you say that, because we see this in every market that we go into, and some markets are more developed than others, but what starts to happen is when you start to get top producing agents that move over to eXp, it gets people's attention. And you guys were the first ones that moved over. Greg Reese moved over, and several others that you've named, and even recently, who's the brokerage that just moved over.
Yeah, Prez moved the whole brokerage over. I think. They watched Chuck Fazio moved over, right? And so after Chuck moved over personally a year ago, they kind of got their attention, and several other local brokerages in our community are actually looking at that same move and going, oh, well, something about this, because you see one of the largest independent brokerages in the United States moving over, and that was okay. Yeah, I see it in the news. I get that. But when the local brokerage, and Chuck's brokerage has what, 800 agents? How many in that?
It was close to 900 agents at the time.
900, 900. So in our local market, it was somewhere between 60 and 80 agents that moved over with the local brokerage. But that got bigger attention because it's local, right?
Right.
For sure. Yeah. So they get that, and the people that follow the national trends, they understand. They see what's happening. But most agents don't follow national trends. They just see what's going on.
That's a great point.
Yeah, the local market.
That's a great point. And so I will tell you this: if you happen to be watching this, whether it's live or you're watching it later on YouTube or whatever, and you're in a marketplace where eXp doesn't quite have the footprint that we're describing that's happened here, it's one of the bigger opportunities that you could probably have. There's not that many markets. I run into it a handful of times throughout the month, talking to somebody in a market that I know doesn't have a lot of major players. But as soon as that starts to happen, especially if you're that major player, it makes a huge difference when you come over, because people look at what you do and they look close. Then they look closer, right? Like, so we always tell people when we're talking about eXps, like, if you think you understand the business model, then you should listen twice as hard to what I'm about to tell you, because they probably are missing something, just like we were missing something when we looked at it the first and second time. And locally, and you're right. When it happens locally, you tend to listen twice as hard or look twice as close at it. And again, it's simple math. I mean, I tell people this all the time. One of my mentors, HOA is what I refer to him as, was Harold's old ass. But he was mostly one of the most expensive mentors I've ever had. Me and Mike both were paying him almost $5,000 a month for a long time, and he was brilliant. He was a genius. And he always started everything. Well, let's do the math. Let's do the math. Let's do the math. Let's just do the math. Like, every problem we encountered, he's always wanted to do the math. But he taught me to do the math. And so, that it's real simple. If you do the math and look at where you're at and where your career, and you look at it for the long term, where
that's
you should,
that's the key. Yeah.
Very rarely is there going to be a situation that you're going to come across, if you're a producer or if you aspire to be a producer, that it would make sense to be anywhere else. And even 100% shop, you're going to actually get paid to be the eXp if you take advantage of all the opportunities available.
Anybody selling 20 to 25 units or more a year needs to absolutely look very seriously at this model, because beyond that, it's a no-brainer. If you're just starting out and you don't know the difference, then you don't know the difference. You should.
But hold on, in your market though, now I do have to give you props, because we haven't had an opportunity to talk about this. But you guys won the Mentor of the Year award for all of eXp. So if you are a newer agent,
we're shocked.
Well, that's awesome, man. It's a testament to, number one, the company has great systems in place and leverages great people to help agents become successful. But it's really a testament to you guys, because you guys did it successfully, helping agents that came over to eXp, and you mentored them so that they did get to success and find success. And obviously eXp was very proud to have you as a mentor, and anyone in your market that's trying to be successful at real estate would be crazy not to join you guys at eXp and have you mentor them and help them with their success. I think that's the point.
Well, I think one of the biggest pieces of understanding to anybody that listens to this conversation, it's not about me. It's about the people I'm in business with and I'm connected with. It's with you guys, right? And so as you guys share your knowledge, and our Honey Badger group shares their knowledge as well, everyone benefits. And as we share, in iron sharpens iron, right? Right. So at the end of the day, it's not only the training that you got from a lot of coaches and organizations that we've all paid. Just like you, I paid Tom Ferry, Brian Buffini, paid a lot of different coaches over the years, and you learn a lot from them. But I think that the one big fire that you have here, that you've talked about for 10 years, Jay. Having one big fire, putting everybody together, it's happening. It's absolutely happening. It's crazy.
Yeah, it certainly isn't anything that I created, but it's certainly something I dreamed about, and it's cool. It's fun getting to work together and help each other, and people don't have to pay you directly, so you don't have to ask for a credit card at the end of every conversation. That business was fun while we were doing that, and we still have some of those businesses still exist out there. But our focus is on helping our group succeed, and the business model of eXp is what allows that to happen. Is we're all business partners.
Alignment, yeah, absolutely, yep.
Can you all hear me better now, or is there still a delay?
Yeah, go for it.
No, you're good.
We can hear you.
As you guys were talking, I was reminiscing about the days of partner. Actually. And I know, Jay, you remember this because we spent a lot of time with your CFO and looking at spreadsheet after spreadsheet, because the one big fire wasn't intended originally. You weren't talking about eXpRealty. No. You were talking about a national company that you and Mike were going to take across the country and partner with. I think it was 2,000 agents and by 2024.
Yep, that was it.
Right?
In each metro market, in each metro, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and so we, I was in line, literally in line.
Like next.
Partner with these guys. I was next, and I learned so much sitting next to Jeff. That was your old CFO of NAEA. I mean, a brilliant guy, but my eyes were crossed, and I would have to take like 3 Excedrins at the end of the day. the headache of looking at all these numbers and everything that goes into launching a national company like you guys were talking about doing. And I was just going to be happy, with my little piece of the pie right in Cleveland, Ohio. And so I guess I have a different appreciation for it because I looked behind a curtain of what it would actually take to take a company, national like that, let alone take it. We weren't even talking about going public, but
globally. No
or
thanks.
globally.
I love this company.
You can literally plug in, and it's just hard for people to understand. For $149 to get started with the company, that's it.
It's crazy.
You're not having to buy a franchise. There's no region to buy. You don't have to ask someone's permission to open up an office over here because you're stepping on that person's toes. There's none of that. And so, I just wanted to share that because when you've been down that road and you see what goes into it, you have a greater appreciation for what Glenn Sanford built here.
Let me tell you.
So Jay, just to recall, I don't know if you even remember, but so Al was in the lead, and I was just connected with you with the rate. And so we were, you reached out and you said, hey, I'm thinking about going into California. And we were in line just to have the conversation back in that day. And looking in this local market. So it was very interesting because the model that you had is basically EXP. From a structure standpoint, but what you didn't have is you didn't have the stock awards and equity ownership. And
big piece of it, the revenue share,
and the revenue share, which is it's a huge piece of it, and the ability to expand your own organization. It's just looking back at that, the pieces of the puzzle and how things just kind of fall into place is just crazy.
It was perfect. It was perfect timing. I can tell you this. When I say I have a tremendous amount of respect for Glenn Sanford and Jason Guessing for what they've built, I can say that with all earnestly and honestly, I really appreciate them because what they're doing is not easy. It takes a lot of work and effort. Of course, it's going to be talked about like the 10-year overnight success. We're not in our 11th year now. eXp is, and that first 10 years was hard. I'm sure the first 8 years was really hard. Like right before we joined, I think the challenges of really scaling something, were probably just immensely difficult. And for the people that got on board and stayed through the tough times, man, kudos to those people too, because it was easy to believe, but man, to go through the hard times when maybe your checks weren't getting paid on time and stuff like that, really difficult stuff. So I'm just glad that they stuck it out, stayed with it, the vision, and kept going. Because most people probably would have quit, and we're here, and this opportunity exists because of that hard work that went into it, and it's changing the real estate industry. It's changing the opportunity that all of us had in front of us by being completely disruptive to the entire brokerage model.
And being radically open-minded, that's the hardest part because when Jason called me, he said, "Hey, we're reaching out," I didn't know what EXP was. I said no.
Yeah, right? See, I find it fascinating when it comes to like, you guys are over here. You guys, like all of you guys who have so much more experience in the industry, right? So coming in, kind of doing, I dabbled while I was going through school. I was licensed with Remax, sold on and off to help get myself through college. But like fully jumping in now, post, I went and I did the whole like, let's go do a corporate life, and I was head of a venture capital firm and got to do a bunch of fun investment stuff on that end. And when I looked into real estate and disrupting technologies, I was like, okay, maybe I'll finally listen to my father, who's been telling me to look at eXp and to move over. But hearing you guys talk about like what the business was versus what it is with eXp, to me, it doesn't make the old model doesn't make any sense. So I know I come from an investment standpoint and I come from like a technology entrepreneurship world. But that model doesn't, like, I don't understand how it existed so long. And when I'm talking to new agents who are getting their license, who kind of watch me do the transition, who are entering into markets in different spaces and who are going to be coming on this next year, and I present to them the eXp model, they look at me and they're like, so it works differently with, when you apply for brokerage and you do certain pieces. I'm like, yeah, it does. And you pay a lot of money. And so then I show, when you talk about how, when you're talking about like what is it, 160, 120, whatever the entry fee is to get in, to like start your
149.
149 and Canada
$149.
and 200. So it's a little different. But like when the 149 to just start your own brokerage basically is what what you're doing. That model is brilliant. And so I hear the work that Al, you and Jay were kind of talking about putting in your cross-eyedness, and then having watched my dad for the last couple decades. It's looking at it. I don't know why anybody would do anything different. Like for me, it's an obvious to get you guys.
$40,000 to buy a brokerage when you can spend less than $200 to own one. It's just
right. Well, yeah. I mean, it's funny too because today the other options that are on the table are there's somebody I can't remember. I think I've got a call scheduled to talk to somebody, and it's sometime this week. I don't know who it is now, but they're getting offered money to. It's simple math. I mean, every time it's simple math. That's why I made the comment early about HOA. It just stuck in my head. But it's like, okay, so tell me where you're at now. And if you're truly honest and do the math, if you're truly honest, what are those admin fees you're paying? What are any other fees that you're paying? Let's add it up. How many deals do you think you're going to do this year? Let's truly put that math down on paper, and then let's compare it to eXp. And if you're not making more money at eXp, then you're not selling anything. I mean, that's the bottom line. You ain't making no money anyways. So you probably need to come over here so we can help you sell more real estate. Like the reality is there's not a better option. You should be at eXp. And if you're just being stubborn and bullheaded, like just do the math, right? Like it's a business, guys. This is not, this is how you're going to spend the rest of your life selling real estate. You might as well do it with the best vehicle that's going to allow you to net the most income and build the most wealth. Why would you not?
And the bottom line is consumers don't care. The consumers don't care who you broker your deals through. When you're, I mean, Al can speak to this. When you're at Remax, they basically tell you that the brand is everything, and that's not the case. The brand is you. You are the brand. As an agent, that people want to deal with you. They don't want to deal with a balloon or anything else, right? I mean, not to speak badly about Remax, I loved it there. I never thought I would leave. I thought that I would actually retire there. I really did. It was very, very difficult for me to leave a place that I loved. And truly, like Al winning the Hall of Fame award, when the Hall of Fame award, you put that up, that's great. Now you're one of the players with the organization, and it's fun to be in that environment. But when you go to leave, it's like, well, you're going to lose the brand. No, you don't lose the brand because people know you.
Right.
And a lot of agents think that if they leave their, like you were at Coldwell Banker, right?
Right.
Yeah, and they thought, well, if I leave Coldwell Banker, then no one's going to know who you are. Well, that's not the case. That's not the story. I mean,
it's not. It's just not.
Yeah, Brian. I considered, dying at Remax myself.
Yeah.
And I almost did that. That's another word for retiring, by the way.
Right.
Dying.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah. And I literally was on the phone with a California broker last week, and it was so funny how nice gentleman. He's probably pushing 70 years old. He's got about 49 agents, 50 agents. He's super interested in eXp. I said, so tell me about your exit strategy. He goes, you mean when I'm planning on dying? This is what he said. I can't make it up.
Right.
So we had a nice chuckle about it. But the truth of the matter is that's a reality for 90% of the agents that are out there. They can go out and put a pretty nice career together, selling a decent amount of homes every year, make a nice living, and then when it's time to get off that treadmill, they can't.
Right.
Because there isn't anything coming in, and they haven't built anything that's sellable, and it's the trap that we've all had to fall into for so long.
Yeah.
Until, of course, this company comes along. And when you say do the math, Jay, you're absolutely right. But you can't do the short-term math.
Right.
The short-term math might work, but we're talking about do the math over 10 years. If you're planning on being in the industry 10 years.
Right.
If it's 5, do it over 5. But, for me, I haven't paid anything to be at this company. And this is my 3rd year. We're in our 3rd year at the company. And we've received the Icon Agent Award all 3 times. And the first year that I got, the $16,000 is not worth $16,000 anymore. It's worth a lot more. And
you got it in the stocks of like $1 a share or something like that, right?
Well, it was $3. It was $3.
$3. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's $10 a share now, right? Or triple that, whatever number it is today. Yeah.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
it's crazy.
Not a bad deal.
When you say those numbers and you say those pieces, that was one of the things that kept me from joining and coming into real estate again. Right. So as you guys talk about, it's like, okay, I know the title of this is like how it's paying for, I guess, my sister's college education.
Yes, sir.
For me, it was hey, what does retirement look like? Right. And how long am I going to do this? What is my exit strategy?
Right.
And I, like, no offense to anybody who's been in the business for a long time, I didn't see in real estate a great one. So I didn't want to jump in. There was a lot of other ways working in tech that I felt like I could, have an exit strategy, build a company, sell it. And I've actually done that. And to get to the point where I can, do that in real estate, make large sales and run a business, and then I can, have whether it's five or 10 years, as I was talking about, or whether it's longer, if I fall absolutely in love with it, it's the ability to have an exit strategy at some point through this space, stock awards, et cetera, which is why I want to work my little butt off to get Icon,
right?
Because I want those shares, and like for me, that is the plan, right? It's like, okay, get those, vest them over 3 years. Let's work on that and make that something that happens every year, because that's when this becomes worth it.
I think back to Al's point about the trap. I think it's the classic frog in the boiling pot scenario, where you're there, you're comfortable, everything's great, and you don't realize that you're just being cooked to death until it's too late, right? And if we just made the jump earlier, then things would have been better,
right?
But it's the fear of jumping.
It's when you're comfortable, and it mainly is because you don't know what you don't know. Like it's very rare, very rarely that somebody really truly has investigated and looked at the model closely and understands all the pieces of it, and then decides not to come. That's not usually what happens. It's usually because they just don't know what they don't know, and until they get curious enough to know. And again, it's hard to do. Probably half of my conversations are people that are not happy where they're at. A lot of that being Keller Williams agents right now for some reason. I'm not saying that all the time. There's a lot of really unhappy Keller Williams agents right now, but the other half of those people are happy, right? Like they weren't even looking for a change.
Right.
In fact, somebody had to kind of convince them to really look closer at it, and somebody had to influence them into really looking at it close. And so and then it hits them, right? Like you can't stop thinking about it, and then you go into binge watching videos and like, is this real? Right? I go through this whole phase of like, this can't be true, this can't be real, because we've never seen a business model like this before. In the real estate industry, and really, quite honestly, anywhere that I've seen. But it's exciting to be a part of. It's exciting to be able to work together with top people. I know Nick Good's on here watching. It's always a pleasure to work with people like that. One of the top agents in all DFW, and get to collaborate and work together and grow together and help each other and help the people that we bring on. And that's just something that is it's a part of who we are as human nature. Is contribution is something that we all ultimately strive for. And in real estate, you can build a team or there's some things that you do to try to, create more fulfillment, but there's just this misalignment in every business model, every team model, every brokerage model, where the person that owns it is trying to build something for themselves and taking a commission split from you. And it's real hard to get, to get people to want to build something together. And when we all have ownership, like we do at eXp, and we all get to ownership. That's it.
Yep. That's what it's about.
We think differently about we put the company first because we all benefit if the company does well, and that's a really hard thing to nail. But when Glenn Sanford nailed that, and that's why we are all here. That's why we're all supporting the company the way we are. That's why we're all championing the company the way we are, because we're all in it together. And when the company does well, we get to do well.
I want to speak to the agents that love their company and that support their company because they think that they're helping the company by being there. That's what I thought when I was at Remax, right? Producing really, really well, but really think about this for a second. Is your production helping you build your business, or is it helping build the broker's business? Because at eXp, we all share the revenue. We all share stock awards. And the top producers that are sitting there going, I'm comfortable because I love my brand. but they're really just helping their broker. They're helping the Gary Carol's of the world, right, build their brand.
Yep.
And Remax, we're helping them build their brand. But I think I want to mention some local brokerages that I'm talking with, but I don't want to do it on the air here. You think about the top producers that's there. That they're there because I love my company. Well, we love our company too, but the difference is the company shares the company revenue with all of us.
Right.
I think it's the question around is it truly collaborative, or are there bits and pieces of being competitive that are interwoven in the model, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, beyond the financial, absolutely. The training, it's crazy.
Well, it's not just the training, not just those pieces, but is everything built to be collaborative, right? Is the entire ecosystem built to collaborate, or is the entire ecosystem truly built to have some kind of, what's the hierarchy of need, the Maslow's hierarchy pyramid?
Yep.
Like you're all fighting for that thing at the very top.
Right.
It's what we see in every other industry, actually, which I find fascinating about the eXp model. Is it's truly taken a model that, or our industry, which it was very hierarchical, right? Where you get your brokers, the owners, et cetera, and it's making it flat. And in every industry right now, whether it's the financial industry, whether it is in like the legal industry, whether it's in things as simple as like what we're seeing in startups, right? In Facebook, these companies, everybody's beginning to expect this, like, we want a flat organization where everybody can relate to everybody, and there's not this really strict hierarchical model. And you've done that within real estate, which is phenomenal. It's actually taking people across the nation and across borders and saying we are all on the same level. You don't have these different levels of, like, yes, you might have more experience, but I can sit down and have a call with you, Jay, right, and say, we're having a one-on-one conversation in a way that couldn't have happened in another environment, right? Or if it did, I'd just be forking over tons of money to you to make it happen. So,
right, 100%.
What I ultimately love about this model is it's done what we've seen happen through technology in every other industry. Is it's making it flat. It's making everybody be able to relate to everybody else, and it's not like the fact that I've had conversations with Glenn, right? And that he recognizes that's crazy. That's absolutely insane, right? And so he'll walk up to him, shake his hand. He's like, "Oh, hey, Tim, you lived in a van for a bit. I lived in an RV for a bit. We can relate," right? Like that's what he remembers, and there's instant that connection. You don't get to experience that with founders of any other brokerage in this industry.
I was with World Banker 10 years and was ultimately number 2 in the world. The only time I ever got to talk to Alex Perillo, who was the CEO and president at the time. Right. The only time I ever talked to him was one time in the elevator. He didn't know who I was, and he was riding with me in the elevator, and he asked me a question because I was younger at the time. But that it's like you just don't have it's not the same. And I wanted to address this because I think this is the number one thing. And Tim, you can kind of tell me kind of your perspective on this too, because I think it'll relate to you. And I think most agents that I talk to, like, if there's a hesitation, right? Like if let's say they see the presentation one time, they see the fact that, hey, we could be partnered up with these guys and they're going to help me grow my business. And there's some belief that we could help them do that. Obviously, we have a track record of success of helping agents, but there's these questions around, like, how does it work? How am I going to be able to, what does this environment look like that's going to be in the cloud? All I know is I come into a real estate office every day and they have training and that's where I get support to answer my questions. If a deal's blowing up, I chase somebody down the hallway or whatever. And that's kind of been the process for as long as we've been in real estate. And they can't even imagine what it would be like to be in a cloud-based brokerage. They can't imagine what that would be. And so, like, to me, like, I went in, I got a bunch of screenshots on my computer right here that I went into Workplace to try to describe, this is how we operate at eXp. Not only are you not just in an office, bricks and mortar with just the people that you know in your marketplace, you're basically online on your phone with every agent in the company. Yep. And like, it's so hard for people to understand. Like, think about day to day whenever you have a situation. Let's say a deal's blowing up and you need a broker now. I need a broker right now to help me with this problem. And who do you go to? You jump onto the phone, you go into Workplace, and you jump into your state group and you message or chat or video chat emergency your broker and get an answer to that question. If you post it in the state group, likely somebody's going to reach out to you. And the one I screenshotted was a lady. She's in all caps, right? A deal blowing up. Need a broker now, please. Right? Like those emergencies we have in real estate,
right?
And so she needed somebody now, but she understood the platform. She understood the collaboration and how we communicate. You don't have to get in your car, drive really fast, and go to the office and find somebody in the hallway to get an answer to a question. Go ahead.
I mean, just from why was that a thing? Can someone at the very least, phones have been around for a while, right?
Right. Right.
To me, this is just a next step from what you're describing sounds like absolute chaos. And if there are agents who are still living in that chaos, I lovingly pity them in a way. Right. Better, it's kind of like, why not go get stitches if you have a cut on your leg? Why just try to keep band-aid stripping it? If that makes sense.
Right. Yep.
Like that to me, it just sounds absolutely insane. So are you saying that still happens?
Oh yeah, that's absolutely still happening to this day. Like I guarantee you, there's agents that they're processed for. They send an email, it doesn't get a reply, right? Like I know I can't email them because they're not going to reply because they get hundreds of emails, right? They're not as responsive as they could be, or they have 200 or 300 agents they're responsible for, and there's just not an easy way for them to get back to you, and they don't answer their phone or they're busy or whatever the case may be. But our knee-jerk reaction is going to the person in the office that to help you with those problems. That's still very real in most real estate offices. So and then there's the people that are like, I never go to the office anyways, and then it becomes pretty obvious that this is an easy move to make. But there's a lot of people out there that their go-to person is they got to catch them in the hallway to get questions answered or whatever the case may be, and it's just a lot. It's magical. I'd never even seen it at this level. Like we collaborated with our company with using Slack and things like that, but we were all still in bricks and mortar. But like as what the benefit of having 30,000 agents and all the executives all in one platform, with that being the only way that they communicate, everything that you could possibly need gets created. It's a collaborative environment. Hey, who's somebody that it could be anything from like a fitness group of runners, right? And who's somebody who runs marathons. Boom! I guarantee there's a group and workplace for marathon runners that are real estate agents. 100%. So like there's all these collaborative groups that you get to be a part of, and we do that kind of naturally in our social circles within Facebook. But that's what workplace for Facebook is. It's exactly that. But these are people that are also selling real estate and doing what you do every day, and a lot of them doing it better. So you get to plug into all these different groups, lead generation groups, and all these different things. Hey, you want to go do a farm? Neighborhood farming groups that are people are sharing exactly what they're doing, they're working, the math, the results, exactly who's printing the postcards for the cheapest. Like that collaborative environment just doesn't happen in any other brokerage, and mainly because they're siloed by bricks and mortar, and they've never been collaborative at this level like we have to be, because that's the only way we operate. And so the bricks and mortar is really what I think has kept other companies from being able to be more collaborative on a global scale like this, is because no one will jump in there and use that as their primary way of communicating, because nobody has to. We have to. And so that's
I think the leverage we have is that prior to conference, basically in the past, prior to eXp, the only way that you can learn from anything else is going anywhere else in the markets across the United States is going to real estate conferences, right? You're hoping to get maybe 1 or 2 nuggets when you go to a real estate conference. Well, that worked in that market, probably work in this market, right? Mm-hmm. Now we see it daily. We see it daily.
Well, I have a great example.
We're not flying. We're not driving. We're not taking it. Our 30-minute meeting takes 30 minutes.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and I have my great example, and just leaning into that is I got to go up to an event that Brent had hosted, and he hosts amazing events, and it's always fun to be either in person or virtual with him. But one of the speakers that was on that panel was Rick Jiha from the Bay Area, and I saw Rick. We didn't get to really connect in person there, but I sent him a video as I was outdoor knocking, because I've done the whole the theoretical question of what happens if you were to drop you into a new community, how would you start your business, etc. That's been my life for the last couple months. So totally leaning into that. And one of the things he said is go knock 1,000 doors as fast as possible. So I was about 200 doors in, and I just decided, I'm out knocking doors. I'm going to send Rick a video on workplace. So I did. Send him a quick video. I was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Do you have any suggestions? Here's my pitch. And by the time I was done knocking doors, he left me a voicemail. He called me back, and he's like, hey, a little bit more voicemail. I know you're talking to people. And he's like, go ahead and save it. So I saved the voicemail, and I play it back every time now that I need to go door knocking, because it's a quick, like, here's 2 quick scripts to have in your head. If they say this, say this. If they say this, say this, right? And he was in a restaurant, and he just quickly like recorded it, sent it to me. It was like one of those little voice memo pieces, and it changed the way that I was doing door knocking almost immediately. But I got access to an amazing expert. Like,
right.
Thousands of homes. He sold thousands of homes, right? Yeah.
Great.
Out of my phone, and I was out doing door knocking, so I don't have to go back to my office to see that kind of stuff. It's just instantaneous, and that to me is pure value, right? I don't think there's anything else that can compete with that. And it wasn't. Right. And then he's like, oh, by the way, I'll add you to my Friday calls, and so he has a call on Fridays via Zoom, and then that's what he does to help train on that thing. So I've been getting equipped in that regard, which has been super cool.
Which and historically you would have had to seek out pay for, probably would not have had that direct access, and it wouldn't happen because of this environment and this business model. That's how Rick operates.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. So no doubt.
So yeah, there's my 2 cents. For me, it's been transformative, and I don't see why anybody else would choose another model. I don't know.
Well, Tim, you're coming from an environment where you were in the tech world, where you saw the level of communication at a very high level, using Slack on a regular basis, dealing with venture capitalists who need to plop money down on the next Uber or the next Airbnb or whatever it might be. And so you're seeing this through a different lens than most people see. We're seeing it through a real estate lens, which is kind of closed, but you're seeing it through a tech lens, right? So what's the difference in your mind that you notice from a tech perspective that separates eXp from the rest of the competition?
I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's empowerment and a flat organization. Agents being empowered with leveraging technology, right, to do their job. That's exactly what we see when you're looking at Google and you're looking at Facebook, et cetera. All of these organizations, they're moving to allow for virtual work for people to work from wherever is most comfortable, because the amount of time that's required of people to do their job, right? So perfect example, I used to work for a company called Thomson Reuters, and they allowed us to work remotely. They didn't really care where we worked from as long as we got our job done. Granted, I was working in the snow, so there was always like weeks that I couldn't actually get to the office because 3 feet of snow on the roads. But what I was empowered to do is I can work in whatever environment I felt most comfortable. But I was still required to get everything done. What this is doing is the exact same thing for agents in real estate, right? So instead of saying, hey, you need to go into a physical space, be surrounded by people who then come interrupt you and talk. If you're one of those people who, like, honestly, the way you make more money in real estate is you're out showing houses, out getting listing appointments, you're out talking to people, right? You're talking to people who aren't empowered to sell their own house, which everybody in your real estate office is empowered to sell their own house, right? Because they're all licensed. They can all do that. If you're surrounding yourself with people who aren't licensed and don't know how to engage in the real estate space in the industry, you can be that expert. You can be that person for them. And so putting yourself in those scenarios is what's going to empower you to do more business faster. And so if I consistently can be in front of clients, and whether that's a buyer or a seller, be consistently in front in a coffee shop, even working, that allows me to be in my office, but to also be directly connecting with people who are going to need a place to live, right? So that's what this allows us to do, and I think that's why it is comparable to these large tech organizations, and why when we talk about our pitches, saying it's not only transforming the industry from brick and mortar to digital, it's also empowering in the same way that people who are in the company. So there's my 2 cents.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool. Awesome, Jay.
Yeah, guys, appreciate you guys as always. It's exciting, the things that are going on there, and obviously going on around the country. So if you're watching this and you're interested, reach out to Timothy, Bryan, or myself, and at least ask questions. Do your due diligence. Try to understand the model at least enough to say yes or no. And
we come see us in Orlando with the shareholders. We've got shareholders coming up. If you're really thinking about this at any level, I mean, come see us in Orlando. And what are the dates on that, Jay?
Orlando, I'd have to look at my calendar. I think
April.
I don't remember. It's in April.
April something, yeah.
It looks like it's April 20th to 22nd or something like that.
That is right.
Yeah. But hey, right now, thanks to the lovely coronavirus news, flights are cheap. So if you're
They are
thinking,
cheap. They're cheap. Good discount.
Right. Get there cheap. Yep.
So
All the fraidy cats out there.
Exactly.
All right, guys. Appreciate you guys again. It's always a pleasure, and
Thank
we'll
you.
see you guys. See you guys in Orlando.
See you in Orlando.
Okay. See you in Orlando.
See ya. Yep.
Bye.